Well, welcome everybody to another Apollo Neuroscience webinar. I'm your host, Dr. Dave Rabin. I am a board-certified psychiatrist and neuroscientist and the Chief Innovation Officer and co-founder of Apollo Neuroscience. And I'm here with two of my wonderful colleagues who I have had the privilege of working with over the last several years. That is Kathryn Fantauzzi, who is our fearless leader and CEO. And who has helped invent the technology over the years and really bring it to life from the early days working at the University of Pittsburgh before there was ever a company, and really helping nudge Apollo through the pipeline to be able to get access to people like you who can use it in the real world. And then we have one of our newer members of the team who joined last March, but who's been working with us from behind the scenes for many years. It's Alan Cannistraro. Alan is our Chief Technical Officer, CTO, and has been comes from a background at Apple and Facebook. And I'll let the two of you do your full intros so you can do them justice. But Al has been an incredible team member to have join us at a critical time where we have been really spearheading the development of new technology that uses data to improve health, which is something that we've been focused on a lot at Apollo Neuro over the last several years. And Al has actually, since joining us in March, helped us to finally realize that and be able to create one of the first examples of how wearable technology can leverage AI to improve our health, focused on sleep, which is why we're doing this webinar, to announce Apollo Labs and tell you all about this new exciting development for wearable technology for health, and how we can provide new services and technology to you based on your data and what we can learn from you to actually improve your life and your well-being and your mental and physical health, which is really exciting. And it really shapes up for an exciting view of health in 2023. Oh my God, what year is it? So thank you all for joining us. We're really grateful to have you. We have a lot of exciting stuff in store for you today. And just to cover the quick ground rules for the webinar, if you have any questions at all, we are happy to answer them. We'll be doing a live Q&A at the end. If you have questions, please post them in the Q&A box down below on the Zoom chat. If you have questions specifically about the product Apollo and your use of the product, our customer service team is ready to help and answer questions for you. So please direct your questions to them. If you have questions about your own personal medical and health information, we unfortunately cannot answer those today because we don't know you. And while I am a physician, I'm not your physician. So we encourage you to take this information that we're giving you. And if you have questions about your particular health condition or something that's going on with you, please consult with your physician and don't make any changes if you have concerns. Please make sure you talk to your physician about your care. And with that, Al and Kathryn, thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
Hi, everybody. Thanks.
Well, this is a bit unusual because I'm not exactly hosting you, but I am kind of, because we all work together, but I am
the host.
Yeah, I am the host of the Apollo webinar series. So yeah, could you tell us a little bit about, maybe just first off, maybe starting with Al, since you're the newest member of the team here. Tell us a little bit about your background, what drew you to Apollo, and why you're excited about what we're doing.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Alan Cannistraro. I've been, as Dave mentioned, officially with Apollo now for the last year, but really have had several roles with the company over the last 5 in an executive form, as advisor in certain capacities, and even an investor. It's a technology that has deeply affected my own well-being, and it's something that I see massive potential and opportunity for, in wellness in general. I think there's a big opportunity for how this technology, which we'll talk about today, can really affect mental and physical health. And my background, I come from consumer product world. I've been in technology for about 23 years now. Started my career straight out of university and went to Apple in 2000. Pre-iPod, I was fortunate to be there with a lot of brilliant minds at what was relatively small company at the time, and experienced a lot of growth. Worked on, I was one of the, fortunate to be part of the original iPhone team. I was on the iPod team prior to that. I've built a lot of the apps, the software that, that Apple had around media on the phone. And after that, went to Facebook and learned a lot about completely different ways of building products, driven by data and AI and tech. And so, after my time at Facebook, went and started my own company, really looking at how individual tastes can be represented through media. And it was, during that time that I got to spend a lot of time with Dave and Kathryn talking about Apollo and the ideas behind that, and increasingly getting deeper and deeper involved in the company. So, like I said, I'm very proud to be CTO right now. There's, we're a small team and we're doing really big things, and this is just the beginning. So, thank you again.
Thank you. And it's been our pleasure to work together. It's been so exciting to see how much we've grown as a company and a product since having you join our team. So really glad to have you and your expertise, and we'll be talking all about a lot of what you have brought to Apollo today, which will be really exciting in the future of what we're going to be offering. And Kathryn, to really kick things off down that path, maybe would you mind starting out by telling us a little bit about, the Apollo origin story? Where did this technology come from, and how does the origins of where we started kind of tie back to where we are today?
Sure. So Apollo, hi, I'm Kathryn Fantauzzi. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Apollo Neuroscience. Where did Apollo come from? So Apollo came out of joint research between the University of Pittsburgh and the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center. David, as you likely recall, basically what we were working on in the lab was identifying, we all know that there are wearables, right? Everybody has one. Like 30% of Americans have a wearable. And we all know how to interact with data about ourselves and, information about our heart rate and information about our sleep. But ultimately, that wasn't what Dave and I were after. What we were trying to do was develop intervention, a tool, a technology that could actually help to improve people's well-being, to help their body recover from stress, and to help them get better sleep. And where our original motivation is that we were doing research with patients who have PTSD. And the reason that that population came to mind is that ultimately when people have PTSD, their nervous system is in hyperdrive, essentially. They have fight or flight or freeze. And so when something stressful happens, they either have their heart rate goes up, or they start sweating, or they can't focus, or they freeze right in place, right? And so what we were working on was a closed loop system that would detect changes in the body and be able to respond to them. And what we originally started developing in the lab was that, in fact, that exact thing, we built it in the lab, was a tool that could identify when you were stressed or when you had a change in your physiology and actually be able to respond. And so the technology, and long since, we did 7 clinical trials at this point, and we have many, many more underway. But one of the things that was really fascinating to me was that the therapeutic element of this was safe, right? And for all of you that have an Apollo right now who haven't experienced Apollo Labs yet and haven't experienced the closed loop that we originally built back in 2018, what you've experienced so far is a technology that uses these low frequency sound waves. Then you choose your vibe, you choose whether you want to focus or you want to sleep, and you feel this program turn on and your body starts to respond to it. And that was really the truly differentiating thing about Apollo, was that rather than just identifying a stress state or sleep state and then telling people about it, which is where the state of technology has been, is that Apollo was pioneering actually closing the loop, using that data to actually intervene. And so for everybody who's been using it, Apollo has been a tool to help your body respond to stress. And I think the most exciting thing for me has been seeing how many people we've actually been able to help in the real world. When we started this was really a team of researchers and physicians and physician scientists that were looking to actually translate discoveries in neuroscience to be able to deliver a product that could be basically easily used by anybody. Because when we did the clinical trials, we found that we were showing big improvements in people's cardiovascular health and their response to stress, their heart rate, and their heart rate variability in healthy populations, as well as patients who had an indication. And so I think what really was remarkable for me, and one of the reasons that I was so excited about this, is that just the opportunity we had to help so many people. Right at this point, we've helped over 100,000 people. And if you think about what our ability would have been, just as clinicians and physicians, to see that many people, to help that many people, would have been so much harder. And so for me, I've been so excited about what we've been able to do, because Apollo uses low frequency sound waves. It's safe, it's a safe tool, and you very rarely get the opportunity in healthcare and in health and wellness to actually be able to disseminate something that people can use in their everyday lives that actually intervenes for them, right? That actually helps resolve a problem. And so, we were our solution, right? We were a solutions-based company, and we're still a solutions-based company. And our goal is to constantly be able to help improve the quality of people's lives so that they can feel better and, achieve their best. And so I'm just really excited to have gone from, a little team in the lab in 2018 in Pittsburgh to, where we are today. And I agree with Al, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, it's a very exciting time. And Al, did you want to jump in and add something? Yeah, it's a very exciting time for Apollo, and I think it's really interesting to just think about the path that you described, right? Because it is true. One of the things that's really unique about Apollo that I found really interesting, that I think inspired us in the early days, was how do we know that there are tools out there that are technology based, that are medical devices that address certain core problems for people, but they have barriers to access. They could be really expensive. They require prescriptions. They require multiple times daily use. Many of them have side effects. They have to be surgically implanted, or require a lot of maintenance and care. And Apollo didn't do that. Apollo did the part where it helped people feel better in the clinical trials, in a controlled university setting, in as little as 2 to 3 minutes. But in the real world, we see it over the course of, cumulatively, people are continuing to get better from just using this technology, which is really, really interesting. And then the safety element allows it to not be gated as a medical device, right? And so that created a really unique opportunity that I think was really bold of you to take advantage of, because running a medical device company, as we know, is very different than running a consumer device company. And you really motivated us to spur us in a direction to say, we don't want to make something that's just for people who have a condition. We want to make something that helps people.
I didn't want there to be barriers.
Exactly.
So when you invited me to join the research team, I looked at the safety profile and the outcomes you're having with healthy people as well as people with conditions. And, it didn't need to be gated. There was an opportunity to actually be able to enter the market and be able to help people immediately. And that's a rare opportunity. In healthcare, the average time it takes to get something from bench to bedside is 17 years. And that's entirely too long. And so I was really excited about the opportunity to be able to help. And I think, when you look at kind of the science of how Apollo works by just reminding your body that it's safe. It works with your body's natural response to touch, essentially sends these vibrations to your body that signal your body to enter essentially a meditative state. And what we had found in the clinical trials was when we applied a stressor, right? We did that double-blind, randomized, placebo-controlled crossover trial as our first trial. We actually induced serious cognitive strain and showed that we were actually reversing the futility response, that people's heart rate was like coming down to a resting level, their heart rate variability was improving, and that they were able to concentrate, their body was calming down, and they were able to focus. And I think what was also really fascinating is that showed that when we applied stress, the body responded, and their body was able to cope better. They were more resilient. They had a clearer state of mind. They felt less stressed out, and they could focus their attention, and they felt physically better, right? Which is tremendous. But I think where we are going, and one of the reasons that we're so focused on sleep, right, as a first pass, is that we really see that sleep is an enormous issue, right? Like 9 in 10 Americans say they can't sleep. Like a third of Americans have a diagnosed sleep disorder. And so when you look at just going on in public health, what's going on, sleep is the underpinning of good mental health. If you fix sleep, if you get someone feeling better and getting good rest, they will feel better. The whole adage that your mom had about just sleep on it is real, right? Like you need good sleep to feel well. And so I think, one of the most fascinating things is that we had actually translated the in-lab trial to real world trials in 2020. And so Dave, I wanted to give you the opportunity to talk about why we're focused on sleep and why Apollo Labs is focused on sleep as our first set of new releases for the Apollo community.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to go, in particular, because the only reason why we discovered that Apollo made people sleepy was because, Kathryn, you made a whole bunch of prototypes that were wearable after our in-lab clinical trials, which I think created a really nice middle step for us of experimentation in the real world that a lot of groups don't do. In fact, most products that go from the lab into the real world miss this step. And that step was, let's make a wearable prototype of what we tested in the lab, and let's give it to people, and then let's see how they use it and how they respond and what it does for them and why they use it, right? And then let's track that data and evaluate it. And there were probably some of you here that are on this webinar that were actually part of that original case study in over 3,000 people. And when we did these lab studies that you mentioned, Kathryn, the double-blind randomized placebo-controlled crossover studies at the University of Pittsburgh in the Pecan Lab, Department of Psychiatry and Psychology, one of the leading neurocognitive neuroscience labs in the country. And we did these studies, which are the highest level of rigor of scientific trials, that showed Apollo improved focus, cognitive performance, feelings of calm under stress, and optimize our body's functioning to effectively look like a flow state in states of stress, which is the opposite of what our bodies normally do under stress. And then when we put Apollo out into the real world and these 3,000 people, after those studies were completed, we gave them vibration patterns that were the focus ones, the ones we used in that trial, but we also gave them the ones that were more calming, that people reported as very calming or relaxing in the lab. And it turned out that people actually liked those better than they liked the focus ones. And we would not, at first, we would not have known that. That was something we wouldn't have guessed, because we used it originally for focus. But we figured out just through real world experimentation in huge populations, thousands of people really like Apollo for sleep. And they were using it a lot. So around that time, this is now 2020, people are sending us tens of, and into the hundreds of images of their Oura Rings, Whoops, Apple Watches, data just streaming in from our users saying, look what happened to my sleep when I use this product. Look what your product did. Sleep going way up, HRV going way up in as little as one night. And we were like, okay, that's really interesting. Time to do a big lab sleep study. So around this time, we launched the product in January of 2020. We had 3 in-lab sleep trials around the country that were about to kick off within the first half of 2020. And then pandemic hits, every single sleep lab in the country shuts down. And we didn't have a way to validate the sleep findings we were seeing in the real world at that time in the lab, because there were no more labs that were doing this work, and they were all on break, which lasted in some cases 2 years. And so Kathryn and I went back to the drawing board, and we thought about all of our users who were, and our research team, we were thinking about all of our users who use wearables and who our users are, who are these people who are using Apollo. And a lot of them have other wearables, and particularly we had one called Oura Ring, which I'm wearing here. And Oura Ring was very friendly with data and gave us access to data in a coaching platform that they have online called the Aura Cloud at that time. And we were able to, thanks to the generosity of our users, we sent out an email asking our users for if they would voluntarily give us their Oura Ring data over time and see how their data changed around sleep and cardiovascular metrics by adding Apollo to their lives. And within one night, we got something like over 300 people volunteering after one email. And then over time, we ended up building the database to over 1,500 people, which has resulted in this incredible training data set that is really unprecedented in real world research, because we were able to track over 1,500 people for, on average, 6 months of data of Oura Ring biometric data before ever receiving an Apollo, and then compare that to how Apollo changed their sleep and cardiovascular heart rate and HRV patterns over years of data. Daily, almost daily data over years, which is something you don't get in a sleep lab. In a sleep lab, you get at most like a week, and it costs like $1,500 a day, right? So you're really pushing it in the lab, and that's not the same as somebody's home in their own bed. So what we saw was in this study was that just adding Apollo to your life, even if you do it for just one day, is enough to give you a statistically significant improvement in your sleep. Despite all variability, despite what you're drinking, alcohol, coffee-wise, despite what your exercise habits are like, despite what you're eating, and despite your normal work and sleep and family habits, all of that included, and the variability of the Oura Ring, we're seeing that there is an improvement just by adding Apollo on average across the board, which is really interesting. And that led us to understand what kinds of people get better sleep and what kinds of experiences people have to have with the technology to get better sleep. And that better sleep is to the tune of, in the users who are using Apollo consistently, which we describe on our website. And for those who haven't seen it, you can check it out on the sleep study on the research roundup page, which should be shared in the chat somewhere. We're seeing people who use Apollo consistently, roughly an hour and a half during the day, an hour and a half at night, and at least 5 days a week are seeing roughly 30 minutes more sleep a night. And we could see sometimes a little more, some of the average in these people is somewhere like between 25 and 30 more minutes of sleep a night. They're getting 19% on average deep sleep improvements, 14% on average REM sleep improvements, 4% reduction in resting heart rate, and 11% improvements in HRV as measured by the Oura Ring. That's not just a one-time measure. This is cumulative over 3 months, that these numbers continue to improve with Apollo use over a 3-month period, which is particularly interesting because when you look at what that data represents, that's nearly the same findings that we see when we look at a 3-month practice of mindfulness meditation or a new yoga routine or a new exercise routine. And why that's interesting, because all of those techniques increase safety in the body. All of those techniques increase the balance of our stress response system and our recovery response system to help our bodies function more effectively. So Apollo is doing that by the sense of touch, which is exactly what Kathryn was saying earlier, is how we came to how to activate the healing processes of the body and the recovery processes of the body in a natural way. Touch, it turns out, we've evolved just like our ancient mammalian ancestors who have also been nursed by their mothers to receive soothing information through touch. And this is hardwired into all of us. More so than possibly any other sense that we experience, touch is the most powerful for safety. So from all of that incredible data and those findings, and thanks to this really interesting and innovative research approach that, of course, we had no idea was going to show us what it showed us, but it showed us tremendous outcomes from people using the product, which is now in the final stages of preparation for submission to peer review. We were able to develop Apollo Labs. And Apollo Labs is what I'm going to toss back to you, Kathryn, to introduce.
Thanks. And before we get to Apollo Labs, I think the main thing I wanted to reiterate for you guys is what Dave pointed out, because I think there's something really important to understand. when we did lab research, we found that people were stressed out cognitively, right, and under a stress task, or physically from exercise and various other studies that we've run, we showed that when you apply Apollo's vibration patterns, they help trigger this state of safety in the body. Heart rate comes down, heart rate variability improves, and people have a calm body and a clear mind, and they can focus their attention and they feel better. They feel less stressed. They feel more resilient to stress. What's really interesting about that real world sleep study that Dave described with our customers who also wore an Oura ring that volunteered their data is that we showed that with consistent use, meaning using it during the day to manage stress or focus better, and then using it at night to help relax and go to sleep, that those people who used Apollo about, as Dave mentioned, about an hour and a half during the day, about an hour and a half at least at night, and they used it consistently, actually showed the equivalent benefits that you would see from a meditation routine over that same time period. We're talking 25 to 30 minutes more sleep a night and equivalent benefit to your cardiovascular metrics. What that is showing is not just that you apply and you feel less stressed, which is what we'd seen in the lab, but we had always believed, because people seem to get more and more benefit as they used it from our beta testing, which we did in 3,000 people for 18 months before we ever launched a product. This study actually showed evidence that Apollo is actually helping to retrain your nervous system like wearable meditation. And so one of the key things we're focused on here with Apollo Labs that we found from that study is that sleep is an important factor, right? Giving people back 25, 30 minutes more sleep a night is restorative to their nervous system, and it helps basically set the foundation for good mental health. And so with Apollo Labs, we're actually, and we announced this back on Thursday in honor of World Sleep Day, we're actually committed to giving the world back 100 million more minutes of sleep by 2025. And so how are we doing that? We're doing that with Apollo Labs. And so Apollo Labs is a membership that we're offering exclusively to our customers that essentially unlocks the AI features to be able to actually be the first responsive wearable. So rather than a wearable telling you that you're stressed, telling you that you didn't sleep, you were there for that, probably know it, what we're trying to do is actually respond to you. And so in responding to you, it's detecting something that has changed in your body and actually being able to help intervene. And so we've launched Apollo Labs to our customers because ultimately trackers don't tell us everything we need, right? If 30% of Americans have them, we're tracking a lot of data, but we're not getting a lot better. Like, why should we be responsive? And if you look at the metrics, about 30% of Americans have some sort of, some sleep diagnosis. 77% of Americans say that stress negatively impacts their physical health. And I just want to stop for a minute, because that's insane. 77, more than 3/4 of the US population is saying that stress negatively impacts their physical health. That's a pretty crazy metric. And so for us, ultimately, do you want a sensor that tells you that you're stressed or tells you that you didn't sleep? That's about as useful as a sensor on your floor that tells you that your floor is dirty. Does anybody want this? Like, seriously, do we all want a sensor that says you didn't sleep, you're super stressed out, you should exercise more? No, you wouldn't want a sensor to tell you that your floor was dirty. You'd rather have a Roomba. And ideally, you wouldn't just have a Roomba that runs around and smacks into the, inevitable leg of the sofa. You want a smart Roomba that knows exactly where the dirt is, goes and cleans that up, and then goes back to its dock. And that's what we're building with Apollo Labs. So I'm going to go to the next slide. And I'm going to kick it off for Dal. What is this closed loop feature? What is this first responsive feature? Take it away.
Thanks, Kathryn. So with Apollo Labs, it is an incubator for us to do a lot more in the responsive space. We're learning as much as we can from the data, and we're building a whole new set of features that takes Apollo from being, a very manual device that requires you to activate it, to being a device that understands context and turns on in the appropriate moments. We think about this a lot like a Tesla. You can buy a Tesla, which is a great car, or you can buy Tesla with autopilot, where as the technology continues to evolve, we'll get smarter and smarter, starting with things like self-parking and keeping distance on the highway, to eventually what they already have today, which is, mostly self-driving and probably in the near future, full self-driving. And so, that's Tesla. We believe that's the same future that's going to happen for wearables. So the first feature that we have in this space is what we call stay asleep. And stay asleep pays attention to your sleep. We use the sensors that we have to understand when you're going to bed at night and predict when you would wake up, and automatically turn on to soothe you through those disturbances, hopefully keeping you from waking up at all. And in those moments when you do wake up, intensifying so that you can fall back asleep faster. We're using AI to train it, and we're learning as much as we can about you and about human behavior in general, so that we can do the right thing at the right moment and understand what applications really help you in any given moment. And as I said, this is the first of many responsive features. People in Apollo Labs, members of Apollo Labs, will get stay asleep as soon as we invite them in. I'll tell you a little bit of that in a moment, but they will also be the first people to get all the new features as we're developing them. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that automatic more application of Apollo in any given moment is nothing but an improvement for me, and we believe this is the same for all of our customers. So how do you become part of Apollo Labs? We're using it, as I mentioned, it's an incubator for this intelligence. It's an incubator for this responsive product. And so we're letting people into Apollo, we're inviting people into Apollo Labs as we need them for research, as we start to look at different areas, sleep, for example. We're inviting our first cohort into Apollo Labs this week, which is, we're going to pull in customers of Apollo that are already using it for sleep, and they that need it to improve their sleep. And we will be opening that up over the next few months, more and more. So if you're interested, please get on the wait list. If you go to the website or you launch the app and you go to the Labs tab in the latest version of the app, you can add yourself to the wait list, and you'll receive a survey to find out more about your sleep habits. And we'll use that as an indication to help us select the next set of folks. Kathryn.
Sorry, go ahead, Kathryn.
I just wanted to let everybody know that no new hardware is required for Apollo Labs. And so to be part of Apollo Labs, you apply for the wait list. And then when you're let off the wait list and actually join as a member of Apollo Labs, your app will get an automatic software update, kind of like Tesla Autopilot, that will just upgrade your existing Apollo wearable to start delivering these responsive features like stay asleep. And as Al mentioned, this is just the beginning of the responsive features that we'll be launching. And we're really excited about sleep because it's such an underpinning for people's well-being. And I'm really excited. We've already shown that we can give people 25 to 30 minutes more sleep a night if they use Apollo consistently, and stay asleep is going to make that even better, because we've all been there. I mean, guilty as charged. You either are stressed out and you can't fall asleep, or you wake up at 2 a.m. or whatever it is for you and can't fall back asleep. And we're here to solve that problem. Lastly, for anybody who's interested in labs, but I wanted to make sure everyone knew that our customers can rest assured that their existing Apollo experience will continue. Apollo Labs is completely voluntary, and we're really excited to invite our customers to join as members, because we're really excited about what additional solutions we can deliver for them. So we're just really excited to be able to launch this. It's been many years in the making. As I mentioned, David and I have been working on a closed loop solution, the first responsive wearable technology since early days of the University of Pittsburgh. And it's amazing to see clinical research make it to the real world and make it to real people. And we're just excited to be able to deliver these solutions for our community. So Dave,
Yeah, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. And Al, while we're on the topic, or actually I could pose this to either of you, but I think it's important to note, that Apollo, for those of you who have been using Apollo in the past, Apollo did not have this screen that you're seeing here, right? Apollo did not keep track of your sleep, and Apollo did not give you feedback about your sleep. One thing that's really interesting about the new feature set that is available to users, especially whether is that parts of this information are specific to labs members, and then parts of this information are available to everyone, like your estimated sleep gains, which we're now able to show to our users to confirm for them, as some of our users have asked even today, how do I know that my Apollo is working for me, right? And so I was wondering, could Al or Kathryn, would either of you mind just walking through why is this different than a regular sleep tracker, and what is this really showing people that's meaningful to them?
I can take this. So I have an Aura, and I have an Aura Ring, and I have an Apple Watch, and I've played with several wearables. I'm kind of the prototypical early adopter in the technology space. Dave does too. And they're great at what they do. There's nothing but love for these devices, but the most that they give me is insights. They tell me that I had trouble falling asleep last night, that I woke up for some period of time during the night, that I had that my habits are falling off, that I didn't hit my normal steps in any given week, that maybe I'm not standing up enough. All of that is really interesting information, and it prompts me to take action to improve my own health. And that's great. That has been great. I've been using step trackers for years, and it is, sets goals. Goals, as I think we are all aware, are great things to motivate people. But ultimately, we are left having to do all of the work that these wearables are telling us that we should be doing. And it's, again, good insight, but it doesn't solve the problem for me. And where we see the future of wearables, and we believe we are the first to market to do this, is that we can actually intervene. We can actually take steps to do something. There's a word that I like to use, which is we work, right? Work, if you remember from your grade 10 physics, has a definition of actually having movement and force. And
Inducing
these other wearables,
action.
inducing action. These other wearables do not produce work. And we do. And so we create an output, we actually have an effect on you. And so the nice thing about, the amazing thing about Apollo is that just by using it, and we've seen this in the studies that Dave has already spoken about, and again, you can go read more about those on the website, and we've been talking about them for a while, is that just by using Apollo regularly, consistently, for 3 hours a day, 3 hours a day and night, that we see 25 to 30 minutes of extra sleep gained in our top quartile of users. This is not the extremes. This is the average of the top quartile of users. So what you see here for your estimated sleep gains is really about showing how well you are using Apollo relative to what we've seen in our studies about how regular, consistent use of Apollo drives these extra benefits. So you'll see that throughout the application, right? This is one screen. We show your estimated sleep gains. We're trying to do more in the app to show you, what we have what's called a benefit score, and the benefit score is really, trying to give you more encouragement about what kind of use of Apollo will really get you all of the benefits across the board, for cognitive performance and focus, to anxiety reduction and stress relief, to improved sleep. And so we've done a lot to bring your usage goals forefront in the app, and you'll see that throughout the experience.
Thanks, Al. And I think there's another interesting point to what you said, which is that you don't need an Apple Watch or an Oura Ring to use this. So Apollo is now able, based on, and thanks to many of you who have participated in our research, and many others who are not present with us today, but to all of those who have participated in our research, we have been able to understand how to use the Apollo wearable to track your sleep, and actually to do so with near equivalent accuracy to all the other wearables on the market, which is really exciting, which means you don't need another wearable to get insights into your sleep data. But in addition to the insights that are typically provided to you, Apollo is providing to you something that's very different, which has never actually been given back to us from a sleep tracker, which is how much sleep, which is what you see on the bottom of the screen here, how much sleep are you actually getting back from the Apollo wearable influencing your sleep, right? And if you're not getting back what you want to be getting back, what could you be doing differently to get back more? And how can we actually see that we're in a real, very real way working towards getting to something like more 25 or 30 more minutes of sleep a night that's concentrated in deep and REM sleep? Because when we get that kind of sleep, as Kathryn was saying, it's not only at the foundation of mental health, it's at the foundation of our memory functioning. It's at the foundation of our mood. It's at the foundation of our general overall day-to-day happiness and our energy and our ability to get all the things done that we want to do and be the kind of people we want to be in the world. So there couldn't be anything more foundational than sleep. And whether you talk to a sleep specialist or a mental health specialist, you're going to get the same answers around that. And all the other changes that we make in our lives only really become sticky and actually grow with sustainability when it's built on a foundation of good sleep and good rest and recovery. So we're really excited to bring this new Apollo upgrade to all of you. And whether if you're using the regular consumer app that all of you have been using, you will see natural upgrades to that will start to show you after you use your Apollo at night for sleep for 7 days. You will start to see your estimated sleep gains appearing in the app, in the Me screen. And this is something you can look out for. So please wear your Apollo for 7 days to get that benefit and start to see what your Apollo is doing for you and how to improve that. And then you'll also see the labs tab where you can sign up for labs and to participate in that program if you're interested, as Al mentioned earlier. If you do have an Oura Ring or an Apple Watch, as some people have been asking about, and you still want to participate in research with us, we welcome you to join us in our research program. We have an Apple Health connection right in the Apollo app. We have an Oura Ring connection now right in the Apollo app. It's never been easier to participate in research with us, or maybe possibly with anyone. You can literally just go into your app and just connect right in, and you can be part of our trials if you'd like, and you can be part of the development of new features that will ultimately come to you first as somebody who's contributed to our Apollo ecosystem.
And that's really what we care about, right? In terms of you and like why we are so interested in pulling in information and data from sources that are around us, like information from Apple Health Kit or from your Apple Watch or from your Oura Ring. You certainly don't need them for Apollo to work well. I mean, we've seen this great success of the technology itself, but the more data that we have, the more information we have, the quicker that we can learn about new ways to intervene, new solutions that we can provide, and to further understand at the individual level which vibes are best for which people are. And so we have had the benefit of having a really active and engaged community of customers, and we're so dedicated to being able to, the origin, our DNA is healthcare providers, and we are really motivated to continue to be able to deliver solutions to help people through their day-to-day lives, whether that's sleep, which is our first priority, but there's many more things to come. So we're just really excited about our solution. Our commitment to you guys is to be able to give you back more sleep and to help you feel less stressed. And we're one step closer. So there's quite a few questions in the Q&A. I just wanted to make sure that we addressed before we
if there's any in particular that you see that you want to talk about, please feel free to jump straight in.
So one straight up is that people need to know how they join labs. So if we can post in the chat, I think we probably already have, but just in case, the link of where to join labs. There's on the website, you can go ahead and submit your form to be considered for entry as a member into Apollo Labs. Also, if you have the app already and you're an existing customer, you do need to have an Apollo wearable to be invited to labs. because labs wouldn't work if you didn't have one. But if you go to the app, there's the new app that we released has a labs icon at the bottom of the screen. And if you click on that, you can join the wait list from there as well. So I wanted to make sure that we address that. And then, Dave, I didn't know if there were any other questions in there that you wanted to have access to or to answer.
Yeah, I think the main question that we seem to be getting is just, how to make sure Apollo works the best for you, how to get the most out of the technology. We actually do know the answer to that, of how to get the most out of Apollo. We've been testing it in, as Kathryn said, over 100,000 people over the last 5 years. So we have a lot of data. We'll post it in the chat, an article that we wrote about how to get the most out of Apollo, which includes scheduling. And that means literally just going in and taking the 2 minutes to click, I want my Apollo to wake me up at my wake up time, or to go turn on just after my wake up time. So you get a nice, soothing, gentle wake up in the morning that gives you energy and helps you feel a little bit good, rather than the blaring of an alarm. That can be very disruptive and stressful and stress inducing. And then also setting your Apollo to wind us down before bed. Right. And that just setting those 2 times in particular, ideally focus on, again, at least 90 minutes during the day and at least 90 minutes at night, gives us, as what Kathryn describes and what we often describe in health, as like the shoulders of the day, right? These are some of the hardest transition times for us as human beings, to go from totally asleep to totally awake and functional, and then totally awake and functional and with a busy mind to a calm, relaxed mind at night. And so using Apollo regularly is absolutely, and according to the best practices, which were just shared in the chat for everybody to check out, is a very quick 1-pager. Schedule your Apollo, have it turn on automatically for you. Just set it and forget it. You might as well. It's a feature that is in the app that's really easy to use and makes everyone's experience better. And then you can track your progress over time now in the Apollo app directly. Up until recently, you weren't able to do that. But if you wear your Apollo to sleep for at least 7 days, you'll start to be able to see your progress tracked in the app. If you keep a sleep diary, if there's people asking about how to keep track of their sleep without another wearable, again, you don't need another wearable in addition to Apollo. But if you keep a sleep diary, or you just keep track of your quality of sleep each morning, you can just do something simple like that and just write down how rested you feel each morning, and then maybe how much energy you feel like you still have at night before you go to bed. And that's a fairly reliable way, if you do that over a 3-month time frame, that you can track your sleep and patterns over time. Kathryn, Al?
Another question that keeps getting asked is just how stay asleep works. And so what stay asleep does is it identifies and essentially predicts when you're stirring, when you may have a wake up, and it intervenes by sending you a sleep vibe, sleep vibration pattern to your body to help you stay asleep. For many of you who've been using Apollo for sleep as it is, you can continue to use the sleep program at night to help you unwind and go to bed. So you go to sleep, and it will then turn on your normal sleep program. But if you wake up in the night, or you may wake up in the night, we sense that you are likely to, we will intervene and play the stay asleep vibe. But the stay asleep vibe does not stay on all night. It will then turn off when it seems that you have gone back to sleep. It will turn back off, and it is very gentle. Should not, we got a question, will it wake me up in the night? No. Think about it this way. It's not intended to, it's intended to do the opposite. So essentially, if you think about a baby who cries in the night, you go and you shush the baby and you rock the baby. Stay asleep is intended to rock you back to sleep gently so that you don't wake up. That's our goal. Or to at least help you fall back asleep more quickly than you otherwise would. And so that's how stay asleep works. And that's also, there's a question about battery conservation. That's also why it's not going to be running all night. So you should, it will turn itself on and off based on your wake ups in the night.
And to add to that, so on the battery side, we are sensitive to that. We turn it up and down as necessary. And I'll add to that, we've been testing this now for about 9 months. And so we have been fine tuning it to make sure that it does the right thing in terms of intensities and making sure that it does soothe folks back to sleep. I think everybody will be really happy with it once you see it. I want to address a couple things on the Android side. So there's some people who are saying they can't see certain tabs. So Android is coming. So please be patient with us. I promise you a great Android experience is coming very soon. We know it has lagged behind on iOS, but it is a priority for us. If you give us a few more weeks, you will see all the things that we're talking about here today, as well as some long-awaited improvements finally making it into the app. So bear with us. And on the topic of Apollo Labs membership, so there is a cost, there is a price. We are, we're doing a lot of machine learning and AI, so there's a price to us as well. And the additional features that it brings bring a lot of value to Apollo. And as Kathryn has said a couple of times today, the app that you love today, the app that you use today, the device that you use today, nothing will be removed. In fact, we will continue to bring new features to the Apollo experience, even in the absence of labs. But with labs, there's a price, and as you move from an invite list to somebody who's let in, we'll have more details in each of those phases.
And also, I wanted to note, Apollo Labs is going to be the place where you can start to see the responsive features like stay asleep and additional responsive features that we're working on now. But it's also a community. And so we will be doing community events, and we will be offering access to scientific leaders and more information, basically cutting edge information in the mental health space, as well as cutting edge research updates. And Dave can speak more to that if he wishes, but I wanted to let everyone know that the core experience of Apollo, like Al said, is not, we will never remove anything. We're not going to remove anything. And also we're continuing to update that experience as well. But Apollo Labs is really a community where you're going to get the access to the closed loop features, so the responsive features to be able to intervene for you, and as well as other membership benefits. But I think the main thing is, if you're interested in labs, join the waitlist. Be part of the community. You'll get updates, and we'll begin to enroll cohorts into labs beginning this week, and we're just really excited for that. Other questions that you guys wanted to cover before we wrap up, Dave?
There are more responsive features coming.
Yeah.
I will leave it at that, but I promise you a very strong, interesting roadmap to come for memberships under the Apollo Labs membership. So I do what's right for you, but I highly encourage you to join if once you make it to an invite. I think you'll be pleased with it. And then finally, there's a few people asking.
Can I have one more thing about that, Al?
Yeah.
Just so everybody knows, there are a heck of a lot more people who have signed up for Apollo Labs than we have spots. And that means that so far, right. And mainly because we're being very careful to make sure that we can provide the most premium and personalized experience to all of our Apollo Labs users, because we really care about everyone who is participating in this specific program, because it helps make a better product and it helps people feel a lot better and get a real positive experience for the extra that they're contributing to the Apollo community and their investment. And so we want to make sure that if you are interested in this, please secure your spot on the wait list today, because it may be a few weeks and possibly a month or two before we end up reaching out to you. And by that point, you may very well want to participate. Otherwise, you might have to wait a few more months. So get on the list today. If you don't end up wanting to participate in a couple of months, we'll reach out to you. It's totally fine. There's no obligation. No obligation to pay to just get on the list. But if you're interested in this, if you're interested to see what AI can do with wearable technology to improve your health, sign up and you'll get a lot more exciting information about developments as they come out. Al, sorry, I distracted you for a minute.
Well, I was just this is maybe a how to use Apollo question, and I see we've posted a link. One good question has come up about when do you charge? I've seen that come up a few times in this list, especially since we're encouraging folks to wear it at night for sleep. Obviously we want you to sleep a full night and then wake up refreshed in the morning. So then when do you charge? My habits, I charge it in the morning when I wake up. For when I do my morning routine, I put it on for a few hours and then I charge it again over lunch, and it's fully charged when I'm ready to do my just in time for that like 1:30 p.m. afternoon lull, which I then use to heighten my day. So it's obviously a personal schedule, but I find one thing I will say about intensity, and I'm sure this is in the how to get most out of your Apollo. We see a lot of folks that crank the intensity. It looks like turning it up means more, and that's not the case. You want your Apollo intensity to be set just at that threshold where you can feel it, so that if you're thinking about it, you see it, you can feel it there. And if you're not thinking about it, it fades into the background and maybe pops up every once in a while. And I personally see, plenty of usage. I don't have any battery issues with a regular routine like that. So, hope you take that away as something for yourself. You should be able to get many hours of usage, as long as you're not cranking that intensity. Yeah.
I've seen a couple questions about where to wear it or if there's a difference in the locations. When we did the clinical research at the University of Pittsburgh, there was no major difference in location in the body between the wrist and the ankle and the chest. It's really where it's comfortable. And like Al said, you should really set the intensity right where you notice it, but it's not distracting. So it should be really subtle, almost like white noise for your body. And I tend to wear mine on this clip attached to my shirt or my bra during the day. And then I switch to the band at night and wear it on my ankle for sleep. But we have people who wear it on the wrist for sleep, ankle for sleep, people who love it on the band. And so you choose where you wear Apollo. But I will say that different places on the body have different intensity. So the chest needs the absolute least intensity because it's such a big bone and such a big area. And so one of the things is the lower if you wear it on your chest, your battery life may be longer because the intensity is so much lower. And so I get, for instance, like I wear this thing 6 to 8 hours a day from Al, who looks at my usage data all the time. And my battery life is great. And I usually wear it on my chest. And then at night, I will put it on the band and wear it on my ankle. So like it out of the way.
Yeah, that's a great point. Play around with different locations on your body. I would say
Find where it feels good for you.
Yeah, it works anywhere on the body. That's one of the most exciting things about Apollo. It works anywhere on the body because it works through the sense of touch. It doesn't need to be located in any particular place. That being said, when people do wear Apollo for improved sleep, wearing it on the ankle tends to be the place that people enjoy the most and get the best benefit from. Also a little bit out of the way. And so I would say if you're going to wear Apollo for sleep, the ankle tends to be the winner, but for all other times of the day, it's really up to you and your personal preference. And to Kathryn's point, we did release the clip, which now comes with every device that allows you to wear it on your chest or on your belt or on your bra strap or anywhere else that you would wear Apollo, which is really nice and also allows you to save battery life. If anybody is interested in participating in a study, by the way, we mentioned this earlier, please go to the Apollo Science page, apolloneuro.com or wearablehugs.com. You can click on science, and we have a research page that details all of our completed trials and all of our ongoing trials. If you go to the ongoing trial section, every single trial has a little summary, where the trial's being, and some information about where the trial's being conducted, the research partner, and then information about how to access the trial or participate. So if that's something that's interesting to you, that's the place to get connected. Kathryn?
We're just excited to give you back more sleep. I'm excited to give you back more sleep. And this has been something that we've been working on for a really long time. And personally, I have an entire family of not such great sleepers, and I can only imagine what this would have done. And I'm just excited about the opportunity to be able to help people sleep through the night. and it's just the beginning and much more to come. So I'm excited to offer it, and I thank my team, everyone at Apollo, all of our community, everyone who participated in research with us to help us bring us to this stage. And we're committed to giving you guys 100 million more minutes of sleep by 2025, and it's just the beginning. So join Apollo Labs, join the wait list, and more to come. And thank you all for attending and for all your thoughtful questions. And Dave, any follow-up on in terms of like questions we didn't answer, or this recording will be available to you after the fact, after we wrap up. We'll shoot you out an email. Is there any other housekeeping stuff, Dave?
Yeah, I think the main thing is for everybody who's listening, we have a special sale for Apollo right now. You can get Apollo for $299 through March 26th in honor of giving you back more sleep more easily. So check it out, not $299 through March 26th. And any questions that we haven't answered, please reach out to us on our website. You can reach out to our team. Our customer service team is always available and happy to answer any questions you have about the product, about labs, etc. And we always enjoy hearing from you. So please do reach out.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care.